The gathering storm, long brewing over the battlefields of Europe, finally broke on September 1, 1939, with Germany's invasion of Poland. 2 days later, Great Britain and France declared war on Germany, immediately drawing the conflict onto the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. For Britain, an island nation, the sea was not merely a strategic asset, it was an existential lifeline. Dependent on overseas trade for over 2/3 of its food, nearly all its oil, and vital raw materials for its industries, severing these transatlantic arteries would be a death sentence. Adolf Hitler, and more importantly his naval commanders, understood this vulnerability perfectly. The Kriegsmarine under Grand Admiral Erich Raeder was far from ready for a full-scale naval war against the formidable Royal Navy. Raeder's ambitious Z-plan, to build a mighty surface fleet of battleships and aircraft carriers, was years away from completion. In September 1939, Germany possessed only 2 battlecruisers, 3 pocket battleships, and a handful of cruisers and destroyers, a force utterly incapable of challenging the Royal Navy in a traditional fleet action. However, Germany did possess one weapon ready to strike immediately: the U-boat. Grand Admiral Karl Dönitz, the visionary and relentless commander of Germany's U-boat arm, had long championed the submarine as the decisive weapon against Britain. He believed that a relatively small fleet of U-boats, wielded correctly, could bring Britain to its knees by cutting its transatlantic supply lines, regardless of the strength of the Royal Navy's surface fleet. Dönitz advocated for a strategy of wolf packs, groups of U-boats coordinating attacks on convoys, overwhelming escort defenses. While Raeder and the German High Command had largely ignored Dönitz's desperate pleas for more U-boats in the years leading up to the war, they now unleashed the limited force they had. The Battle of the Atlantic, as Winston Churchill would later famously call it, began on the very first day of the war. Hours after Britain's declaration, the German U-boat U-30 torpedoed and sank the passenger liner Athenia off the coast of Ireland, mistaking it for an armed merchant cruiser. Though Hitler quickly forbade attacks on passenger ships, the sinking of the Athenia, carrying many American citizens, sent a chilling message across the globe. This war would be total, brutal, and fought without mercy on the high seas. Initially, German U-boat operations were hampered by several factors. The Royal Navy, though initially slow to implement comprehensive convoy systems, quickly adapted, recalling lessons learned from World War I. Allied merchant ships began to travel in organized convoys, protected by destroyers, corvettes, and frigates equipped with rudimentary sonar, ASTIC, and depth charges. The early U-boats also lacked range and suffered from technical issues with their torpedoes. Dönitz's small force of some 57 U-boats was far short of the 300 he estimated were needed to truly strangle Britain. Yet, despite these limitations, the U-boats quickly proved their lethal effectiveness. They targeted the vital shipping lanes connecting North America to Britain, sinking hundreds of thousands of tons of Allied merchant shipping. Each sunken freighter represented lost food, lost fuel, and lost war materials, a direct blow to Britain's ability to resist. The stakes were incredibly high, and the early months of the war at sea revealed a desperate struggle where every voyage was a gamble against the unseen predator lurking beneath the waves. The Atlantic, a vast highway of commerce, had swiftly transformed into a deadly battleground, where the fate of nations hung on the survival of a few dozen ships and the courage of their crews.